Hey guys, welcome back to Java tutorials. From today onwards and few lectures, I will talk about one of the important concept called as constructor and all other subtopics. What is a constructor? What is its syntax? What is default constructor and parameterized constructor? The next thing is what is constructor overloading and what is this keyword and how we will use that one. And the most important thing is when the constructor is invoked. What is the difference between method and constructor? As I said earlier, some of the topics I will talk in my next videos. In this tutorial, we will see what is a constructor, why we need constructor and its syntax in this video. The constructor in Java is a special method that is used to initialize objects. We can also say instance variables. Let's see the syntax while writing the code. For that, first I created a class and let's create two integer variables int n1 comma n2. Let's create a method now so that you will understand very clearly what is a constructor. Public void add is my method. Here I am going to add those integer system.out.println n1 plus n2, just the basic method. We know, right, the purpose of creation of constructor is to initialize the objects. Let's create a constructor now. Public class name Java constructor, open and closing. So this is the syntax. The constructor should be public and the constructor name is always the class name. And most important thing is in method we have a return type, but the constructor doesn't have a return type. The constructor may or may not have the parameters. So the important things we should remember is constructor should be always public, the name is class name, and it doesn't have return type. So far this is clear, right? Let's initialize the value now. N1 equal to 59, N2 equal to any number you can give it. That's not a problem. So far we created a class. In that we have a method, and for initializing variables we created a constructor. The next thing is creation of object, which we definitely need for calling methods. Let's create a object now. Java constructor of obj new class name again and closing parenthesis semicolon. Let's call the method now obj dot add. Save the program and run. Now we can see the addition of n1 and n2. This is my first example. This one helps you why we created a constructor, what is the syntax. Hey guys, welcome back to my Java tutorials and part 2 of constructors. In my last example, we have seen what is a constructor, why we need it, and syntax of the constructor. In this video, I will talk about what is default and parameterized constructors. This one I created for the previous video. This is the example for creation of a constructor. In this example, I have two instance variables. I created one constructor and one method and one object. Now let's understand what is the default constructor and parameterized constructor. The constructor is always public and the name of the constructor is the class name. The constructor may or may not have parameters. That is the definition of a constructor, right? So if it doesn't have anything, this is called as default constructor. If we give some parameters here, that is parameterized constructor. Now let's say int x, int y. This one is now parameterized constructor. Earlier it is default constructor. For constructors, first we need to assign the instance variables n1 equal to x and n2 equal to y. This is the assignment we are doing here. Do you guys observe here? As soon as I enter parameters here, immediately the compiler throws the error saying that expected 2 arguments but 0 found. So you got it now. Here we are going to enter the values now. Let's say 45, 60. because here we have two arguments, so as soon as you enter two integer arguments, the error is gone, right? Save the code and run. Now we can see the addition of those two. Here creation of method and calling method we don't require. I just forgot to delete that one. Sorry about that. This is the main difference between parameterized and default constructors. But a constructor may or may not have parameters. That's fine. Depends on the requirement, we may or may not add parameters. Hey guys, welcome back to Java tutorials video and part 3 of constructors. So far we have seen what is a constructor, why we need it, and syntax, and the types of constructors, default and parameterized constructors. In this video I will talk about what is constructor overloading. For that I created a class. Constructor overloading means creating many constructors, but the difference is type of arguments and number of arguments. The same concept we have seen earlier while discussing about method overloading, which is also called as polymorphism concept. Now let us understand what is the concept of constructor overloading. Let us create some variables here. Let's say int n1 and n2, two integer variables, and let me also take two float variables and one more variables of string data type. Let's say s1 comma s2. So far we have taken three types of variables. Now let's create a constructor for integer, public and class name. Let's say only one argument here. Let's create one more constructor for true arguments. So what is the error here? Java constructor int is already defined. So here we have taken two constructors. Obviously the name is same anyway. It's not like we can create any name like method. So here we have the same type. I'm changing number of integer. Now the error is gone. I hope you understand now what is the concept of constructor overloading. Let's say public Java constructor float num1 float num2. Let's create one more constructor for string. Public Java constructor string s1 comma string s2. I forgot to say one thing. Here we have taken already variables. You should not take the same variable again. That's create ambiguity actually. To reduce the ambiguity, we should need to use this keyword. Anyway, that concept I am going to cover in my next tutorial. For today's topic, let's change the variable name. Let's say x is x and y. X and y. But please remember, I'm not saying we should not do with the same variable name. That concept is again different. If I mix those two concepts, you will going to confuse. That's the reason I am changing the variables here. I hope you understand. Now let's assign this variable to instance variables. Let's say n1 equal to x. Let's print. Let's say number is n1. Let's do that same thing here. N1 equal to x, n2 equals to 1. System.out.println addition of, let's say, integer concatenation of n1 plus into. Let's also do the same thing here. Num1 equals to x, num2 equals to y. Let's print the statement system.out.println addition of float number is num1 plus num2. Let's do the same thing here. S1 is for string, right? String variable S1 equal to x and S2 equals to y. System.out.println adding two strings plus S1 plus S2. Let's recap what we did so far. We have taken three types of instance variables and four constructors. These two are for integer. Here I am explaining the number of arguments. Here we have one argument. Here we have two arguments. In the next two constructors, I just want to say the type of parameters is different. This is for float, this is for string. If you give same type of parameters and same number of parameters, immediately the compiler throws the error. That is the thing, you should be very careful while creating the constructors. This line I added to reduce the code. Instead of creating again method, I just added here. Now let's create an object. We need a class name, Java constructor, and object new, again class name, Java constructor, open and closing parenthesis and semicolon. This one is the object, but how the constructor is called here is completely different. What we learned for methods, constructor calling is invoked immediately after creation of objects. Let's say here 10, and this is creation of object reference, right? So instead of this, we can also simplify the code like this. We can do directly new Java constructor. Let's say, let's give two integers, then new Java constructors. Let's give two float numbers. Let's create one more for string. We have two arguments, right? So you need to give that one. Hi. Second one is friends. So even though you are not explicitly saying please invoke this constructor, please invoke this constructor here. Let's save the code and run. Have you observed one thing here? We missed that parenthesis. That's the reason it is concatenating instead of addition. Anyway, don't worry about that. Let's run the code again. Now you can see the numbers in the first line, and addition of the integers is 65. Addition of the float is this one. So give the space here so that you'll get space here. That's it. I know this is a bit lengthy code, but I just want to give many examples as much as I can so that you'll understand more. I hope you understand the concept very well. And if you have any doubts, free feel to comment out that one. I'm glad to help you out. Hey guys, welcome back to Java Tutorials. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is this keyword in constructor. So far in my previous videos, we have seen what is a constructor, what is default and parameterized constructor, and what is constructor overloading. To understand this keyword, now let's create a constructor. For that, I created a class and two instance variables. Let's create a constructor now. The syntax of the constructor is public Java constructor, open and closing, and braces. So when you are dealing with parameterized constructors, you have to provide the parameters saying int a comma int b, right? Immediately the first step we need to do is assigning instance variables n1 equal to a and n2 equal to b. And let's print the statement system.out.println n1 plus n2. Until this one we already seen, right? Now what if you want to provide the same variable names? How to deal with this one? Then you have to give again n1 equal to n1 and n2 equal to n2. Does that make any sense? No, right? That's the reason this keyword comes into the picture. This dot n1 equal to this dot n2. Now you can feel like it's something different and understandable, right? So this dot n1 is always refers to the instance variables. So the benefit of using this keyword is it reduces the ambiguity and we easily understand this one is referring instance variable. So in this case, even though we are using same variable, at the same time it is understandable. Instead of this one, you can also do the like this. You don't need to use this keyword, still the program works, but you need to use more variables here, and the best coding practice is using this keyword. The rest of the stuff is pretty much same, just we need a object for execution or calling. Java constructor obj equal to new Java constructor semicolon. Let's say 25 comma 35. Just give any random number for practice purpose. Save the code and run. You can see the addition here. I hope now why we use this keyword in constructor. Hi guys, welcome back to my Java tutorials, and today's video is last video about the constructor. In this video you will understand the difference between method and constructor in syntax point of view and execution point of view. Both we will see here. And just a recap, so far we have seen what is a constructor, its syntax, the type of constructors, what is constructor overloading, and this keyword in constructor. If you're watching this video directly, please go ahead and watch those 4 videos so that you will be in track and understand completely the concepts. Now let's see the difference between method and constructor. Let us create a constructor first. Public and Java constructor is the class name. This is the constructor syntax. And let's create a method now. Public void new method. So access modifier, it may be public, private or static here for method creation. Your constructor should be always public. And the second difference is we have a return type here. For the constructor, we doesn't have any return type. And the third one is method name. Method name, you should give whatever name you want. New method, new name, new user. It doesn't matter, whatever you want you can give it here. And at end of the method name you have to give open and closing parentheses. But here if I change this one, immediately it throws the compile time error. So the name of the constructor name is always your class name. This is the first part of my topic, the syntax, and the next one is calling a constructor and method. Let's see that now. Print a statement. Hi viewers. Let's print one more statement here saying that let's give something different here. Hi, this is a method. Let's change here also. This is a constructor for better understanding. So far we created a constructor and method. Constructor returns a statement and method also returns one statement. So far it's clear, right? Now let us go on create a object. Without object, we cannot invoke any of them. That is the first and basic point. There is no doubt about it. Now let's create a object. New class name obj new class name. Can anyone guess what will happen if I run the program without calling anything? Okay, let's see. Hi viewers, this is a constructor. So even though we are not calling here anything, the constructor is invoked as soon as you created the object. But if you want to call a method, you need to call the method name specifically obj dot and new user. Then only the method is invoked or called. Got it? That's all for today's tutorial, guys. I believe you understand the concept very well. See you in my next video. Stay tuned and happy learning.